Welcome back to the show, Debbie Harry and Chris Stein of the most genre-bending, visually iconic bands in music history, Blondie. You're obviously in separate places. Where are you, Debbie?
Where am I? I'm in New Jersey today.
Mm. And Chris, where are you?
New York, West Village. It's nice, Manhattan.
We're here to celebrate the reissue of your 1997 album, No Exit. The album that's synonymous with the historic reunion. What's it been like reflecting on Blondie's second chapter?
Well, I just realized today that if the record was 25 years ago, it really was the midpoint of what we, because we've been at it for 50 plus years.
Yeah. I don't know, some kind of synchronism or synchronicity or whatever it is. It worked, the Blondie albums have always been a variety of sounds and styles. We always sort of had a little of this and a little of that, as well as, combining things. So, I think No Exit is one of our best albums, and as Chris has been saying, Maria sort of got the attention because it was sort of the most obvious Blondie song, but I think a lot of the tracks are terrific that haven't really gotten a lot of attention.
Did you think the band, because the band would ever get back together after 1982? I mean, how did No Exit come about? I mean, what were the negotiations like to get you back in the studio? Were some people reluctant, or were you all up for it? Come on, tell me the story.
It was a variety of all of the above. Some of us wanted to, and some of us didn't, and some of us, me in particular, grew to like the idea, but I was very sort of suspicious and hesitant. I didn't really want to get into, the personality wars that we had in the past. And so, we had a lot of things to iron out. We had business problems. We didn't really have a very sophisticated business format, when we broke up. It was kind of mayhem. It was kind of like the Wild West. That's what I used to always think to myself. My God, this is like the Wild West,
When you say sophisticated business plan, you're trying to say did money go missing? Because that's never happened with rock stars before in the history of rock.
It's a very typical story, as you said.
Not only that, I think that there was a lot of, bootlegging and stuff out on the market, and,
we had crap accountants and management, and all this stuff was terrible, So,
because there was a time back there when Blondie, especially when Parallel Lines dropped, you were probably the biggest rock band in the world.
Briefly.
No.
Robert Fripp tells a story about going to Studio 54 with you guys. You ever remember that?
I'm trying to think of that night with Robert. It's always going there was always very chaotic. It was never, there was never really a slow night at 54. It was always, it was really, happening. As a matter of fact, there's a nice restaurant bar that opened, and I think it's called Below 54 now. Yeah, so that I was, I enjoyed being there for that. There was an after party there recently for the Penn and Teller show. Mm-hmm. So
Debbie used to go out with Penn.
Did she?
Yeah.
She used to go out with you and all.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
How'd you handle that, being sort of romantically involved and kind of still working together? And I assume you've gone on, to other partnerships. How did the partners cope with it?
Yeah, well, I've been married for 26 years.
Yeah.
So, but Debbie is like my closest relative. My immediate family is my wife, daughter, and Debbie. So that's that's where we're at now.
Yeah, well, I think one of the first things that, happened that was so important was that, Chris was very verbal and liked to talk. He liked to talk about things. And, no, some people don't. They just assume that, you're on the same page. But he was really able to express himself clearly, and we had, good conversations. I think that...
We would go over stuff.
How difficult was it rediscovering the chemistry when you got to No Exit, rediscovering that chemistry from the sort of parallel lines period and stuff like that, when you just got back in the studio, rediscovering that magic?
Well, I think for me it was when we had our first session of, putting the musicians back, playing together. And it happened very quickly. As soon as we started playing a song, I thought, oh, there it is, there it is. It's still there. So that was nice. But, Chris and I had continued working all of those years because I had, 2 or 3 solo albums that came out. And, Chris was a big part of that.
We did some tours with other musicians.
Yeah, we did tours. We did everything. So we hadn't really stopped. Chris and I hadn't stopped. I got beaten up and hounded about not using the name Blondie, but I didn't feel right about that. Without the members of the band.
Talking about the members of the band, the reissue was completed before the sad passing of Clem.
Yeah.
He was with you for 5 decades. Is it true that you invited Clem to his first audition, Debbie? Where did you come across him?
Well, we had put an ad in the Village Voice, and Clem was the last one to show up. He was number 50, and then ending up, working together with him for 50 years. I thought, recently, as so, synchronistic and so weird, but
he was the only one who knew who we were.
Really?
Yeah, he had seen us play at the Scene at the 82 Club, something like that.
Yeah.
Pick a tune from No Exit for us to play. What an undiscovered gem from the album. What tune should we play the Six Music audience that you think it doesn't get enough love?
I really like Screaming Skin, which is kind of a ska piece. It's great. Is that the opening track, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
This is Blondie with Screaming Skin. They are my guests, Chris Stein and Debbie Harry. The title of the album, No Exit, is a reference to Jean-Paul Sartre's existentialist play, is it not? I mean, what's the story?
Somewhat.
What's the story behind that? And is it that you guys being a little bit clever?
No, it was Clem. It was all on Clem. Clem just started when we were working at me. I don't know. Maybe we were even working on recording at that point, but he just started saying, no exit, no exit, no exit. It also meant to him that we couldn't get away from what we were doing.
Yeah.
So it was a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
What was it about Clem and his style of drumming that you think was essential to the Blondie sound?
Well, he just played a lot. But he was also, he was also intelligent about what he was playing, and he referenced so many drummers, and he knew everything about every drummer that ever played in a band. So I don't know how much of that he put into what he was doing, but a certain amount.
Listen, you guys played Glastonbury 2023. What was that like for you? I mean, it's just such a... Debbie's just thrown her hands up in the air like that, going, yay! I played Glastonbury every year. It's just one of the best festivals. What was it like for you guys? I mean, and what were the crowd like? How did it feel?
It's epic. I mean, I like doing intimate gigs, but the more the merrier. It's nothing like playing for 100,000 people. It's an interesting phenomenon.
Do you still enjoy it? You talk about, internal squabbles within the band and getting ripped off by record companies and stuff like that. But looking back on it as a whole, life well lived, would you say? Career well lived? Any regrets, or is there a satisfaction there?
Yes. I think all of those things, have, it's not easy, but you have to have, some stuff, to keep going, I think. But I think it's that way in any business, in any career. You sort of live and learn, right? I mean, it's always that way. You live and learn, and you can't sort of sit around moping because you didn't do it right the first time. And Chris will tell you, that if you had to do it all over again, you'd probably do it the same way.
There's the story by the Russian mystic writer P.D. Uspensky, and in the story, the man goes to the magician, and he says, "Listen, if you let me live my life over again, I'll fix everything." So the magician sends him back, and he does everything exactly the same. Mm-hmm. That's part of the punchline.
If at the start of it, someone said to me, "You can be a part of one of the most iconic rock bands that ever graced the earth, but things might go a bit wrong," I'd volunteer for that, wouldn't you?
Well, me, I was always very optimistic. I just always thought everything we were going to do is going to work.
Well, we did have that in common. I sort of floated through. I mean, there were problems and stuff like that, but I don't know, somehow I was always optimistic about our end of the deal, what we were doing. I was very, very positive about that. I never had a, second thought, really. I just wanted to keep trying things and doing things.
Was the look all DIY? Did that come from you guys, or did you have designers and stuff like that?
We never had. I mean, the closest we ever had to a stylist was our friendship with this kid named Steven Sprouse, who was a well-known designer at the time, and he used to dress Debbie, but that was the closest. I mean, Debbie always would sit and do her own makeup before the shows, all that kind of stuff. It was, and the band image, we loved the mod aesthetic, and we loved James Bond and all that stuff. So we just gravitated towards that.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when you and the Jam were probably the two best dressed bands in the world, I'd say, as well.
Thank you.
It just looked good. It worked.
Yeah.
Well, Clem loved those guys, and he got to see Paul towards the end there, and that was a nice moment.
Yeah, I was talking to Paul recently, and he showed me a picture of him and Clem not long before Clem passed. Now that Clem's gone, does that mean there will be no more Blondie, or are you going to go out and tour and honour him, as it were?
We're thinking about it. We have another collection coming out called High Noon. Mm-hmm. So somehow or other, I have to, come up with an umbrella, so to speak, that says Blondie presents High Noon, something like that, and that's just off the top of my head, but it must have been in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we've got 12 tracks, and it's very beautiful. It's a wonderful collection.
Listen, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, Craig.
Good luck, and I'll talk to you when High Noon comes out. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Absolutely. Have a good day now. Bye-bye.